Okay, welcome everyone. We're here today for a special council meeting of Warwick Township Council on the date of March 27th, 2023. The starting time at 3:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Anybody has any disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest, please declare it at the proper time. We also welcome everybody who's viewing in on YouTube today. Welcome. And I'd also like to acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered here today, Township of Warwick, is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, as well as the many Indigenous nations in Ontario whose footsteps have marked them for centuries. We also wish to acknowledge that we are situated on Treaty 29 and Treaty 25 territories signed by Chippewa chiefs and offer our respect and gratitude to these lands. So we're going to start off today. This is a meeting our delegation is from WM to talk about the natural gas facility located within the landfill. So we're going to welcome our delegation. So folks, please come up. So we have Louisa Furtado with us today. And we also have, I'm just trying to look at my list here. We also have Larry Fedek here, and John McDonald is also here. I don't know John's name. Yep, there's John's name here. So anyways, welcome everybody, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council and staff and the public. We want to introduce a project that we're having at the landfill, and we wanted to kind of run through some of the basics and a little bit more information. So first on the agenda, we're going to go through a couple of slides just talking about the landfill. So some of you might know a good extent of those details, but a little more in depth. So John's going to go through that. And then we have Larry Fedek here from HDR that are going to go through maybe the specifics and drill down to what the gas is and what an RNG project is, what the consultation program is going to look like, and some other projects that we might have in the area. So we're going to start with John, a little bit about the landfill.
Thanks, Louisa. So a few of the slides that are you running the slides? You can go. Better. All right. So next slide. Good. So a lot of you know this information. It's appeared in several communications.
Yeah.
Several communications that we put out. So I just go over it fairly briefly. There's a time for some questions at the end. So most of you are aware the landfill opened in 1992. First operating year for WM was 1996. In 2009, it was expanded to include the new expansion area. And the remaining capacity is about 8.4 years on the current expansion. We're permitted for 1.4 million tons a year. The landfill receives municipal, industrial, commercial, and institutional solid non-hazardous waste and contaminated soil. It's an engineered and protected system. Again, just coming through quickly. Highly monitored and with reporting requirements to the MECP that we share with our stakeholders. And just to wrap it up, the landfill has contributed over 33 million in host community fees since the opening of the expansion in 2009. So this project is cycling around one of our byproducts, I guess, of the landfill. So the landfill gas is produced and collected at the landfill currently, but it is flared off at the present time. A portion of the gas that's collected goes to the greenhouse, the 40-acre greenhouse, for heating purposes for them. It is our intention to develop a renewable natural gas plant at the landfill to utilize that gas that's coming out of the landfill itself. And it will be connected directly to a natural gas transmission line that is being constructed. The landfill will continue to support the greenhouse in the agreement that we currently have. And a little bit about the RNG. So this is really a very brief description of how the system operates. So on the left-hand side there, you can see the garbage truck coming in. So it dumps the waste into the landfill. The three long pipes that you see representing here represent the gas collection system that we currently have at the landfill. Those pipes are already in place. We have over 40 of them that are currently active and collecting gas. Currently where the RNG sits there is where our flares are currently. So the RNG will replace the flares. They'll become part of the process after the fact in case of excess gas or flare-offs. Larry will talk a little bit about how the actual black box in the middle works, the magic box. Once the gas is processed, Then it comes out the other end and it can be used in our commercial fleet as natural gas to replace our current sources. And Larry.
Thanks, John. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, as John mentioned, so as the waste breaks down or decomposes in the landfill site, it generates landfill gas. The landfill gas is collected through a series of wells that are existing in the landfill site and will continue to be installed as the landfill gets built out. Those wells are connected together, and the network of wells, if you will, is operated under a vacuum or a negative pressure to basically suck the gas out. And then as John mentioned, it's currently directed to the where the flares are, but that would ultimately go to the renewable natural gas facility. So in 2022, just in the order of about 3,500 cubic feet per minute of landfill gas were generated. And it's projected that when the landfill closes in 8.5 years from now, as projected timeline, the gas generation rate will be in the order of 8,000 cubic feet per minute. So almost double what's being generated today. Landfill gas, though, itself is only about 50% methane. And to use landfill gas as a natural gas source, you need to clean it up basically and get it to over 95% methane content. So, and that's what the purpose of the the renewable natural gas facility is to take the landfill gas and remove a number of compounds, if you will, from it, like oxygen, nitrogen oxide, carbon dioxide, various other compounds, basically to clean it up, if you will, and almost purify it to, almost pure methane, if you will, to make it natural gas pipeline quality. So as you'll see, there's, on this slide, there's a number of processes and steps that the renewable or that the landfill gas will need to go through to get it cleaned up, basically. And that's really what this outlines here. And that's what would happen inside this facility. Maybe next slide, please. This slide shows some existing examples of renewable natural gas facilities that Waste Management has in place in the United States. One of them is in St. Louis, another in Louisville, and another in Texas. And there's a sort of a 3D rendering, if you will, of what the Twin Creeks RNG facility may look like. Similar in nature to the three actual facilities shown there, but really what kind of wanted to highlight here is that a number of the processes and equipment will occur inside an enclosed building. Although external to that building, there will be some equipment such as tanks and vessels and flares on the outside. But anything that's sort of noise generating, those sort of compressors, those sorts of things will be within the enclosed building. Next slide. So this slide basically shows the site plan layout, if you will, for the proposed RNG facility. On the right side, you can see there's more of a blow up or an insert of the facility itself. So the facility is really going to be located in the central part of the site, where just south of the existing landfill, near the soil stockpile, kind of where the landfill gas flares are located right now. So it's really in that area there. So it'll take up an area of about 100 meters by 300 meters, or 300 feet by 450 feet, if you want sort of imperial dimensions. So just kind of in that central area there now. One thing I do want to point out on the site plan that you hopefully can see, there's a new access road proposed from Confederation Line into the RNG facility. So it's specific only for the RNG facility. So for equipment to access the site for construction and for supplies, and then also for use once it becomes fully operational. And just as a frame of reference, during construction, full-time equivalent employment would be somewhere in the order of about 75 jobs. And once it becomes operational, it'll be between 5 to 10 staff. So not high usage, if you will, from that access road. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we're now moving towards getting in place the environmental permits, if you will, for the proposed RNG facility. And there's 3 amendments required to existing permits that the landfill site has. And they're listed here. So one's the environmental compliance approval for waste, an amendment to that. The second one for the sewage ECA, and the third one for the air and noise ECA. So WM has put together those applications in draft, and they were circulated to stakeholders in early March or at the beginning of March. So including the township, the Warwick PLC, and Wapple Island First Nation. So those applications have been circulated, and I know the township is certainly now engaged in a review process, and that's underway. And WM is anticipating receiving comments or responses back, if you will, on those draft applications in early April. Next slide, please. Yeah, along with the permitting, we're also going through a consultation and engagement process. So hopefully you're all aware that there's a public information session scheduled for this Thursday, March 30th, from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. at the Twin Creeks offices. And there will be a number of technical consultants there to answer specific questions about the process, the various approval applications, and the work supporting those. So we certainly look forward to welcoming the community, if you will, to attend and answer, ask us any questions, if you will, so that we can give them the information that they would like to have. There are some additional requirements around the permitting as well. Specifically with the township, there's a site plan approval required. We did have a pre-consultation meeting with the township and the county planners at the beginning of December last year, which identified a number of sort of supporting studies that would be required for that site plan approval application. And so we're now in the process of putting together that supporting documentation as well, so that that application can be made to the township as well within the next 1 to 2 months. Host municipality agreement revenue share needs to be addressed. There's other permits that will come as part of the site plan or following site plan, including permits under the Drainage Act, tree permit, entrance permit, sign permit, building permit, septic permit. So a number of different sort of permits still to come prior to the development of the facility itself. And then, as John mentioned, there's the gas pipeline to the RNG facility itself, where the RNG would be injected into. That's a process that Enbridge is undertaking, and that's separate from the approvals processes that Waste Management is going through. And that's really kind of the summary of the process and where we're at from a technical perspective.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation, everyone. I guess one of the comments I'd like to make before I open it up to questions to council is that we're going through a process in our community right now where we're trying to get natural gas expanded through our community. We've had many discussions with Enbridge. We've talked to the ministry, and this is a great project in many ways. I mean, we have to do our due diligence, obviously, through our technical review team, but it's way better than flaring it into the sky, into the atmosphere. I think we all can agree on that. But for me, it's rather ironic. We're sitting here talking about producing natural gas in our community at a landfill, for which obviously we have a partnership in, and they're going to be taking this product and they're going to be taking it south down the system when we actually need the product here in our community. So right now we're lobbying the provincial government. We're talking to Enbridge. We've talked to WM about this now. So it's kind of ironic in the sense that it's needed here. There's a huge need for it. Even Enbridge admits that there's a good business case that's been made for it. We've come close a few times. Right now, we're just trying to identify what the new process is with the province because it's changed a little bit from the former process that we were counting on being what was going to be this time around. So again, for us, it's a little hard to swallow in the sense it's this great project that's going to produce this natural gas and we need it in our own community. So, I mean, I did mention it to WM not too long ago. I didn't know if there was a way that this could be looked at and maybe rerouted to be able to service our community in Warwick Township and then expand it into the other areas from here. Because again, I'll go back and say it again. This is something we've been trying to get for our community for years and years and years. So I'm going to make that comment right off the bat. I mean, you take a situation like this. I mean, we didn't ask for the landfill to be located in our community. We were opposed to the landfill expansion. It was approved. And I always say, you know, we are a small rural municipality taking all the responsibilities for larger municipalities' inability to deal with their waste. The province approved the application. It's here. I don't want to go back too far into history, but now we got something positive that's going to come out of this landfill that can really benefit our community and the needs of our community. And they're going to pipe it down the road south to the Dawn facility. And I mean, God knows where the gas is going to go. For all I know, it could be a credit going to some British Columbia owned firm at the end of the day. So that's a comment I want to make right off the bat. And I know I'm not surprising WM because I've raised this with WM. And we've asked WM to please have a discussion with Enbridge. Obviously, we're having discussions with Enbridge just to see what could perhaps happen. Even if that product's already going to be piped down the road and we can't stop that, I think there should be consideration given to us by Enbridge, by WM, by the province to be able to help us get the expansion of natural gas we need to service our agricultural community and Warwick Village proper. So that's the opening comment I'll make. And I know we had some discussions with WM on this, and WM has told us that they will go back and they will revisit this with Enbridge. But again, I'm just saying this is important to us. And if they can't stop this pipeline from going down the road at this point in time, I think there's also a good discussion, as I said, to be had for the merits of us being able to get that natural gas because it's being produced in our community and then being shipped down the road. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'll open with that. Council, does anybody have any questions on the presentation? Councilor Moore.
Just a quick one, I think for Larry, probably. Larry, one of our biggest complaints about the landfill is odor. So I guess my question is, during construction, will the flares still always be operational? Because we know that's where the odor comes from, is from the gas. Will the flares always be still operational during construction?
Yeah, no problem. So yes, the answer is yes. So the construction, the current system will operate as it is, and we are required to do something with the gas. So the RNG with the permit amendments will take over where the flares are now, but the flares will always be in existence. So if there is an upset with the RNG, it goes back to the flares automatically. So the systems will run together, but there will never be a time where we're not actually collecting and disposing of the gas in some manner.
Anybody else on council? Deputy Mayor Kellenberg.
Yeah, just a question on the nitrogen removal in your final polishing segment. You mentioned nitrous oxide. I guess my question is, how is that going to be controlled? Because our current federal government is pushing hard on ag for nitrous oxide emissions and forcing the farmers to possibly use less nitrogen fertilizer, and or we had amendments already to fertilizer products. So I guess how much nitrogen is going to be released, or do you know that?
I personally don't know the specific answer to that in terms of how much. I mean, it's a series of chemical and physical processes that the landfill gas is going to go through to get converted. So it gets distilled out, it's under pressure. There's flaring of some of the compounds as well. So I don't have this specific answer in terms of amount, if any, actually gets released. So, but we will have one of the consultants who will be there on Thursday night is going to be one of the process specialists, if you will. And I'll make sure that they're able to sort of answer that question Thursday if you're able to attend.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else on council? Councilor Manning.
Yeah, I got a follow-up to Counselor Morris's question, because again, the odor seems to be one of the big issues now. Now, Counselor Morris had mentioned during construction and the flares are down and that. I'm just curious, after the facility's finished, will we expect an increase or decrease in the odor for like long-term use?
So the RNG facility will continue to collect gas well into the future from the landfill. So it's not, when the landfill stops operating and we close and cap it, it's going to generate gas for another 20 to 30 years after the fact. So that the plant will continue to run and collect that gas after the fact.
So will the odor be, are you expecting it to be the same as it is now in current operation then?
It should be less than it is right now. Right now, we're installing new lines and tightening up the system to get ready for the RNG facility. So we're going to see a constant decline in the number of odors that we're getting at this point.
So you're expecting a long-term decrease? In
Yes.
So actually, I think the number that was shared was about an 85 to 90% decrease in odor. Am I correct?
Yep, that's what I'm anticipating in gas odor. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Anybody else? Staff have any questions at this time? Okay, the one very important piece of this, obviously there's many. The technical review team is still going to do their due diligence. I know we have Peter Pickfield, our lawyer, that heads up that process today. So we'll continue to do that process and move on. I don't have a microphone for Peter right now, but we will continue with that process and go through it. And you mentioned the community commitment portion of it. The financial piece, that has not been spoken about as of yet. And I guess we're waiting to hear some information from WM on that side of things in the very immediate future too. So can we expect to hear something on that soon?
Yes, very soon. We think that's one of the key things that we're going to be working on is the community host agreement and then follow it up by the permitting.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Again, the most important piece is making sure the due diligence is done by our technical review team first. And we'll look forward to seeing those comments and those results. Again, first glance, it looks like a very positive project. Anytime you can prevent gases being flared into the environment, that's a good thing. But I guess the proof will be in the pudding for us after our technical review team does their thing. And we'll go from there. So thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate it. Have a good day. So we'll give the folks from WM a chance to pack up and I'll ask the clerk, Madam Clerk, do we have any staff reports today whatsoever?
No mayor case. That's our only open business today.
Very good. There's no business that I'm aware of to be brought forward in open session, council. Seeing none, thank you. So now we're going to go into the closed meeting session. I'll notify the public that this is where we go into the in-camera portion and we'll be moving off the live streaming of this meeting. And this will be the last you see of us today. We'll be just coming out of the in-camera session just to close off the meeting at the end. So we're going to ask for a motion to go into the closed meeting session to deal with 5, 6, 11 of the municipal acts. Can I have a motion, council? Councillor Manning, Councillor Kellenberg, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you.